to move on with our days. And so welcome. Thank you all for coming, especially since it's such a rainy day. If you have friends that weren't able to make it, in a day or two I'm going to post the link. I'll send out like a one call and post the link, and so that everyone else will have the opportunity to hear the information that I'm giving this morning. So again, thank you for coming and welcome. So one of the things that the teachers like for me to remind the students, and just so that you're also reiterating the same information at home, is 8th graders have an increased responsibility, as you all probably have already seen in their classes, because the 8th grade teachers, their main goal is to get these kids ready for high school. And as hard as we try here, every student that we have that comes back to Barrett will always say, "Oh my gosh, it's so different. I wish I would have listened to you all more and taken you guys a little bit more serious," because in high school, they don't give them as much grace as we do here. So agenda, main thing, help your kids, reinforce that they're filling out their agenda and giving as much detail, especially like on homework, assignments, that sort of thing. If it makes sense to them and they can remember what it is they've written down, then it's good. You all don't have to say, "Well, I don't know." As long as they know, then it's all golden. But materials, you wouldn't believe how many kids we still have showing up in classes without pencil and paper. And, why would you come to class without this? That's what you need to be able to work in class. Plan ahead for tests and projects. That's a big thing. When I met with the staff just last week at our team meeting for 8th graders, Mr. Vogel was one to point out to me right away that in class meeting this week, he wants me to announce to the students that they need to start preparing for their test much further in advance than the night before. So I will address that with all of your kiddos on Thursday, just as a reminder that you all can't expect to just cram for 15 or 20 minutes the night before a math test, especially, or any test, and expect that you're going to do really well. Because I am thinking by the failure list that came out at midterm this 6 weeks, and most of those kids were in Vigel's class, that they're not taking the time to, they're not putting in the time to study. So just reinforce that there's planning ahead, maybe just 10 or 15 minutes a night, 3 to 4 nights before, and then spend maybe a half an hour the night of the test. Projects, teachers are usually pretty good about giving at least a week advance or several nights, because so many of our kids are involved in extracurricular activities, whether it be with the school or on their own, that time is precious, and as you all know, time management's key. Makeup work. There's still, with 8th graders, even though they've been here and this is their 3rd year, it's still kind of confusing to them how they receive their makeup work. As a parent, make sure that when they return to school that you're sending a parent note with them, letting the homeroom teacher know if your child was sick, or maybe you all were just out of town, whatever it may be. Just make sure you're writing that note, because that determines whether or not it's an excused absence or unexcused. And then those notes go directly to the attendance office. And Miss Ryan is great. Some of you all call in, let her know. She's our attendance clerk. She's amazing how she can keep all 3 grade levels connected with students, connected with parents, and knows what's going on with them. So she'll know too if the note just comes in kind of vague, and if she's talked to you, she'll mark it excused or unexcused in the computer as well. But the students need to ask for their makeup work. By 8th grade year, the teachers aren't going to say, "Oh, well, you were absent Monday and Tuesday, here's your work." Most of them have a makeup or an absent folder in their classroom where they will just put the assignments or handouts if they've handed anything out, and it's the student's responsibility to go and get those. Sometimes the kids will ask the teacher, and then they will direct them to where the folder or their makeup work will be. But our 8th grade teachers are so busy and moving so fast in their curriculum that they don't always take the time out to stop and say, "Oh, Andrew, you were absent on Monday. Make sure you get your work." So that's up to the kids. Just some brief reminders. To whom much is given, much is expected, and that's kind of your 8th grader. We're always telling them, you guys are the role models for the other grades in the school, not only on your behavior in the hallways, but also in the classroom, because there are times, even in the auditoriums when we're all together, that the younger students are always looking up to the older ones and seeing what's expected. Late work is not accepted as a general rule. Some of our teachers will take late work on certain circumstances. You know, if you've had an emergency in your family and you all were in the ER, you know, because grandma or an aunt or an uncle or even an immediate family member has been there all night, teachers will understand, you know, that that's more important. They're very, I guess, just open-minded and compassionate people. And so, you know, they'll give them that extra time. But if it's a pattern that your child shows quite often, you know, just, I'm not going to turn it in because I just don't want to, then they're going to be getting zeros on Parent Portal. Students are accountable for knowing their status, and what I mean by that is they have access to Infinite Campus and their grades at all times, just like you all do. So they should know their standing. I know we have some teachers that only post grades on the weekend, and then we have some teachers that just randomly post throughout the week. So as the school year goes on, you'll start to notice who's kind of more on top of grades, just like in the past 6th and 7th grade years. But Mr. Wortham really strongly suggests to all teachers that they update their grades at least once in the first 3 weeks of a grading period, and then they're supposed to update them weekly to the end of the grading period. Students are expected to communicate with teachers prior to involving parents in most cases. And what that means is we're just trying to get them to start advocating for themselves, because when they hit high school next year, you're probably not even going to see any of those teachers unless you attend the open house night, and then that will probably be the only time that you will see or maybe hear from some of them. So go ahead and start encouraging your child to speak up for themselves. Role play with them. You know, when you see Mrs. Wimsatt in the morning, just simply go to her and say, you know, I kind of missed what you were talking about on this assignment. When is it actually due? And then that gives your child a little bit more confidence in how to converse with the adults in the classroom. And the more that they learn to advocate and talk for themselves, the more comfortable they'll be next year in high school. So the curriculum moves very fast, as most of you probably know. You've probably seen, especially in language arts and math classes, science, I mean, they're all moving pretty quick. And that's part of the traditional program as well. We don't offer advanced program classes. However, all of our curriculum's pretty rigorous. So, you know, just remind your kids, okay, you're at Barrett for a reason. You have succeeded at Barrett for the past 2 years. You're going to do fine this year. That's just part of growing up. Just expect that things are going to move a little faster and that you're going to have to put in a little more time than you're probably used to. And then just remind them too. And the reason for this is so you'll be better prepared for high school. Make sure your children are here in school, and looking around the room, your all's children are, you know, here, unless they're terribly sick, and then please keep them home so that everybody else can attend school and not get sick, especially the teachers. But it will impact your performance in the classroom if you're missing class a lot, which most of you are aware of, because they get really far behind. New experiences as 8th graders, they think they know it all, as you know. And parents, my children now are 26, 24, and 18. So I've been through middle school several times myself with my children, and now by working here. So they will tell you, I've got this, I've got this. You still need to check on them, okay? And most times they do. Most times they do have it. Sometimes they don't. Just kind of flip through their agenda, you know, say to them, show me the work that you did here, or tell me about, and then ask probing questions into that, because sometimes they'll just say, oh, we were just supposed to read pages 2 through 20. Okay, well, tell me about it. What did you comprehend from when you were reading? Get them to just give you feedback. Friends change, as you all know, and especially by 8th grade year. I had a young lady in my office just yesterday, just very upset because of girl drama. And, she was my friend last year. I don't know why she's not talking to me now. And we're all females in this room right now. I wouldn't go back and relive my middle school days for anything. So, we get that more so than their fathers do. But, the boys, they kind of have drama too. They just don't let it affect them as emotionally as our girls do. So, just let them know. People all grow up and change at different rates. Find those friends that are like-minded like you and invest in those friendships. Don't waste a lot of time trying to make a friendship work. That is just so difficult and wasted energy. So encourage them to branch out and maybe get involved in new groups to where they can meet new friends. And again, I'm always telling them, I say that to my kids, drama is just wasted energy. We don't have time to waste any energy. We're all very busy. And if a friendship is just difficult for you, then put more time in those friendships that are working, and that with those people that seem to enjoy your company as much as you do them. And the same goes for the boys. So help your student keep records. I had a parent just a few minutes ago ask me about Beta Club hours. If your child's in Beta Club, those sheets are with Miss Sewer, who is a 6th grade language arts teacher. She's our Beta Club sponsor. She may have something online. I know there was some talk about that, but I'm not aware if it is up and running yet. Become familiar with the ILP. This is something that you'll start hearing more about, especially once the kids are in high school. And the ILP is the individual learning plan, and that is connected to their Infinite Campus program per se. And later this week, I'm going to be sending home. Hello, come in and grab a cup of coffee. I'm going to be sending home some information later this week, and it's a little packet. And on there, it's going to give you a sheet about career cruising, what an ILP actually is, and how your students are using it here at school. They've done a little work 6th grade and 7th grade year. 8th grade year, it kind of kicks in a little bit stronger because they're starting to build a resume. And you're going to receive a sheet from me that talks about how you can access their ILP. I'll send you the link and the code that is specifically for your child. And I'm going to send that home probably Thursday or Friday through 6 period classes. The reason we choose 6 period is because it doesn't give them a lot of time to lose it. Okay? So they get it, and we tell them, take this straight to your locker after school, put it in your backpack, and get it home. And then I'll send you all out a memo saying, look for this, it's coming home. So a little packet will be coming, and it's a great program. It's where they can go in and start looking at careers that they might be interested in. They can take an interest survey that will give them feedback to say, hey, we think that these careers would be really good for you based on the way you've answered these questions and things that you enjoy doing. It kind of also asks them questions about their personality, whether they're introverts or extroverts. And so it gives them a nice, global picture of themselves that they may not have thought of. It may suggest some careers that they're like, there is no way I would enjoy doing that. And that's okay. But at least it's giving them an idea of maybe some different branches in careers that they can look for. Just knowing through my own children what they have experienced in high school and college and now in their young adult lives, My one daughter has a job that was not even on my radar and still wasn't until she graduated from college. I was like, now what are you really going to do with this? And what she's doing is so beyond anything that I could wrap my head around or know how to do. So as they're building on their education, they truly are building for careers that we may or may not be familiar with. Encourage them to get involved in clubs outside of school. That's where they're going to meet some of these friends that they probably wouldn't gravitate to in the hallways or in classes. It just kind of opens up a whole new window for them and gives them a perspective of everybody is different, but everybody has something that they can add to a friendship. And they truly learn how to accept people that are different than them because they learn to appreciate and respect their differences. So just encourage them to get involved. That's key. Whether it's a sports team, a club, a church group. I know some of our boys are still involved in Scouts and starting to think about, their Eagle badge. Just encourage them, especially when your children kind of start feeling lonely, that they, invite friends over. Well, who would you like to invite? Oh, well, they wouldn't want to come. Well, let's just ask. You might be surprised. All they can do is say no. Sometimes as parents, we just need to kind of throw stuff out there to our kids. They need to hear us say it because they get kind of tunnel visioned and they don't look at the broad picture and think, oh yeah, well, all they could do is say no. It's okay. So, okay, I've already hit on the information coming home later this week and the one-call memo I'll send out for you all to look for it. Okay, so now in my presentation, I'm going to kind of take it month by month to kind of give you a layout of what's coming. I think I've kind of hit on just about everything. If I have forgotten, don't worry. I'll send you out a one call. And you don't have to remember all this stuff from this day forward. I'll be reminding you. Parent-teacher conferences are October the 10th. We'll be doing the online scheduling like Mr. Campbell had set up last year for the teachers. That seemed to work really well, and the teachers and parents, the feedback we received was very positive. You may not hear from a teacher requesting a conference if your child has a C or better. They kind of target on the students that are struggling in their classrooms, and they want to meet with those parents first. So if you don't hear from teachers, don't panic. It's okay. If you would still like to meet with a teacher, by all means, you have that right. Reach out to them if you've not heard from them, and they will schedule you in there. It's not a problem, and that's what they're there for. The advanced program test. Right now, it is scheduled for October the 13th. One of my roles in the building is I'm also the building assessment coordinator, which means that I'm in charge of every assessment that comes through the building for every grade level. So 8th graders are only tested for advanced program here, so that will happen on October 13th. It is a different kind of test, especially the math part, than what our kids are used to. It's like paper folding and seeing, what the outcome or the answer might be beyond just computing the numbers together. So, the kids always are commenting about the math section after this AP exam, and we just tell them, just do your best. This is stuff that it's testing a different part of your brain other than just computing numbers. And so if they come home and they're telling you all this crazy stuff, yeah, that's probably about right. It's stuff that they haven't had a lot of exposure to, and that's the way that the test is set up, because they want them to be cognitively thinking about what's beyond the immediate that's right in front of them. So again, it's just for 8th graders. Those tests usually come back, or the scores, come back in December. The traditional programs within JCPS, they do not have advanced program track. If you go to Eastern, Wagner, Ballard, Central, all the other schools, they do have an advanced program. So if your child is thinking about going to one of those other schools, they will have a score that is given to the high school so that the high school counselors know what track to schedule your child's classes in. If you score a 20, the highest score is a 27. If you score 21 or above, then you're considered an automatic into the AP program at one of the high schools outside of the traditional programs of Butler and Male. And they have the option to choose to go into the advanced program. If you score a 19 or 20, then you can appeal the score, and you gather, the student and the parents gather documentation. It might be an assignment, an essay that they've written. It would contain a letter from you stating why you think your child probably could excel in the AP program. You know, maybe they were up all night on the 12th throwing up and it just wasn't a good test day. You know, we all have those. So take advantage of being able to appeal if you would like to. If you know for sure your child is going to Male or Butler and you're thinking, well, I don't really need to worry about this AP score, I'm not going to stress it to my kids. Things change with families, as we all know. It could be that you or your spouse is transferred to another state, and they might need that score to go on to the new school that they're going to. It could be that they start at Male or Butler, and they realize this just isn't a good fit. I want to go somewhere else. Then you have that score to go, to go on. Service project, we're going to go back to Engelhard Elementary on October 17th. That's where we went last year and worked with a kindergartner through second grade. It was just it was amazing. It was so amazing to see your 7th graders last year work with these little bitty kids and just love on them and be so kind to these little ones. These children at this school are very needy, and they need and starve for individual attention, and your children just so graciously gave that to them. And every teacher that we came in touch with that day was just like, when can you come back? We wish you could come back every month. And I'm like, I do too, but it's the buses that are the issue. So this year we get to go twice instead of just once. We're going to go in October, and then we're also going back in March. We haven't set the date yet for March, but this is our October date that we're going back. Showcase of schools. That's where all of JCPS schools gather. This year it's going to be at the Kentucky Fair and Expo Center. It'll be in the C Wing. They used to do it Friday evenings and Saturday, but so far I've just seen that they're advertising it on Saturday from 9 to 4, so I think they've kind of condensed that down. It's just kind of an open house thing. You come at any time, you spend as much time or as little time as you want there. Check out the schools that your child might be interested in. Male, the last 6 years that I've been counselor and I've been at the Kentucky Fair and Expo, they don't have anybody at their table because they are already expecting all these kids from Barrett Johnson and JCTMS to come and fill. So they don't, I guess, necessarily advertise or promote their school to everyone else because chances are there's not a spot for them. So Male will not be there, but your other schools that maybe some of your children might be interested in will be. Butler will be there if your child's thinking about maybe going to Butler. They're there. High school applications. If your child, I'll start by saying, if your child's going to Male, that you don't have to do anything. So it's going to be very easy for you. And they don't have to write an essay, and they don't have to fill out an application. They're already fed right into Male, and you just get to sit back and watch your friends go crazy. So, because, and the reason I say that is because there's deadlines, and the deadlines for the different high schools are all different. So make sure that you're staying on top and helping your child stay on top of the high schools that they're thinking about applying to outside of Mel and Butler, that they know exactly what is needed for their application packet and those deadlines. You have to submit, if you're going to manual, you have to submit your essay by a certain date. It has to be on a certain topic. So you want to make sure that wherever else you're applying, that your child is aware of what's going on. To give myself time and to be able to do a good job writing a recommendation letter for your child that's going to apply outside of Mel and Butler, I keep reiterating that, December 4th is going to be my deadline. That gives me a good full 2 weeks to make sure that I get those written and that they're written well and that I can turn around and get it back to your child so then they can deliver it to the high school before Christmas break. So that is mandatory. That December 4th deadline, I will stick to that. You have from this day forward to December 4th at 2:20 to get those recommendation letter requests to me. And some of your 8th grade teachers will be writing them too. So get your kids to kind of start making connections and letting the teachers know them kind of personally. Say, you know, you're going to need these letters of recommendation. Make sure your teacher knows them because it makes it a lot easier when they write about it. Open houses. I haven't received any open house dates as of yet. And usually when they hit, we get all of them at one time. And then some schools end up changing their dates or times. And I will make sure that I'm communicating that with you all, whether it's text or email. The students will hear about them, you know, here at school. December, just again, that December 4th deadline to turn in the recommendation letter request. January. JCPS's application window is from, usually it starts the Monday after the Showcase of Schools. So I think that's October 30th. And then it runs through the first school or the second school day in January. So they haven't given us that date, but I'm thinking it's probably going to be January 3rd based on the way they've ran this application process in the past. So that could change, but that'll give you an idea. Mel High School scheduling, they will be sending out to you all a letter or a postcard telling you when you will come to Mel High School to set your child's schedule. And last year they did it by the alphabet, like A through K went on Monday night from 7 to 9, and then L through R and so forth the next night. So just kind of be watching for that to come through the mail in January. It's the beginning of second semester. Kids kind of start getting like, oh, you know, I'm so done with middle school. And it's kind of like, you know, that 6 weeks after spring break when they're ready for summer. 8th graders kind of get 8th grade-itis about this time. So just keep reminding your kids, you know, stay strong to the end. You still need to keep your grades up, especially if you're wanting to get into some of those classes, the electives, because the high school counselors will be looking at their transcripts. 8th grade activities committee. What that is, I'm going to need to rely on quite a few of you all come second semester to help with all of the end of the year events that happen for 8th grade. I like to start meeting with that committee group. I usually just say, if you can help or if there's somewhere you want to help, please show up at this day and time and we'll start talking about it and the responsibilities. And if there's something that sounds enjoyable to you that you would like to help with, please, you know, sign up. I'm a big person that loves helpers. So, and I like people that can take it and just run with it. So if you all have friends that can do that too, please encourage them to sign up because, as you know, lots of hands makes little work in the end for all of us. So just kind of put that in the back of your head, that will be coming. In April, by the first week of April, which is right around spring break, Usually it's the second to last week of March is when your kids will start hearing about the high schools that they have applied to, that they've gotten into. I know Manual, they send theirs out in shifts because there's actually four schools under Manual's umbrella. There's Visual Arts, there's YPAS, which is the Performing Arts School. There's HSU, which is like a regular high school program, and then they also have Communication and Journalism. So you apply for that school in that area. That's why I'm saying make sure that you're looking at the deadlines. All that information will be on the school's website, by the way. I think I forgot to tell you that. But that's where you find out all that information, what they want in the deadlines. But Manual usually starts sending their letters out towards the end of March. And then the kids usually know by spring break whether or not they've gotten in. There's no rhyme or reason why some students get in and why some do not. I've had 4.0 very involved kids that have applied to Manual and they haven't gotten in, but my 2.3 kid or 1.8 did. Okay, so start telling your children now that we have never been able to make much sense out of why they take some and they don't take others. So, just start preparing them because it can be devastating to some. They've got their heart set on going there and it just doesn't happen. But then for some it does. So you just never know. Spring break, like I said, after spring break, they're toast. They're not really wanting to do anything. They just want to get out of here. So encourage them to finish strong and to, keep, your routines up at home and checking on their homework. Class picnic will happen in April. What we usually do the morning of the class picnic is we go to Old Mill High School, which is now Salvation Army, and we practice for graduation. We usually do that for about 2 to 2.5 hours, walking in, walking out, making sure everybody's lining up right. Everybody practices walking across the stage. We go over some of, the rules when they're there, that kind of thing. And then we load back up on the buses and we go to Dupree Park over in Hikes Point. And we have, in the past, we've always done Chick-fil-A boxed lunches. The kids pay for those beforehand, or they bring their own lunch if they would like. And we get to spend about an hour and a half or so at the park, and they just play games and hang out with their friends, and it's a lot of fun. But I will need a lot of parents to help organize that and chaperone that day. And then we have our class picture, which will be back here at school. That'll be on a different date than the picnic day. Class picture usually takes place, always has since I've been here, on the front steps of the school, and they wear their school uniforms. So it's kind of not really anything that you need to do, but the kids get excited about that because that's their 8th grade class. And then that afternoon during 5th period, we have a guest speaker, which is usually a big surprise to them, of who comes in and kind of gives them a motivational talk about finishing strong and what to look forward to in high school and possibly even into college. We've had high school students come that are Barron alum and speak on that day. We have had U of L basketball players. One year we had Teddy Bridgewater. I've had Miss Kentucky here to talk to the kids. So, they get excited when they see someone that's kind of close to their age. And they love to hear about their educational success and what has gotten them to where they are and how they've juggled it all. So that'll be on the day of the class picture. In May, we'll have K-Prep testing. That always takes place before the last 14 days of school. So depending on snow days, those dates will vary. 8th grade social, the 8th graders will get to vote on what they want the theme for the social to be. So we'll need a social committee that's in charge of that, with decoration, preparing the food, all the little extras, whether the parents want to do a photo booth or whether, the types of food you want to have based on the theme. So that's a lot of fun if that's something you're interested in helping out with. And then we have our 8th grade awards ceremony, which is always the last day of school. It starts at 10 a.m. and the doors open at 9:30. So there's no reserved seats. So if you have a large family, you'll probably want to come early to get seats for the awards ceremony. It's a very special day. The kids all look forward to it. And afterwards, we have some kids that come back here to school, and we have pizza for them and soft drinks. And they just kind of help us out around school, tidying things up, hanging up the graduation robes. They will wear, we have purple gowns that they wear, no hats. That's safe for high school. This is just a promotion ceremony. But we do have purple robes that they'll be able to wear over their dress clothes that day. So it's a fun event. Some families go out to eat afterwards and take their kids home. And then, like I said, some kids come back here, especially if they've had perfect attendance. They will want to come back so that they can keep their perfect attendance. So if you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask. There's my email, which most of you have, and you can find it on the barrettmiddle.com website, along with all of your teachers, if you need to email them. The counseling office and the main office telephone numbers. I take pride in getting back with my parents pretty quick. Some days, not as quick as I would like, but always within 24 hours. So I've been known to kind of answer emails at 10, 11 o'clock at night because I'm just up, and that kind of makes my workload a little lighter the next day. So, but if you haven't heard from me, by all means, I will not take offense if you shoot me a second email and say, did you get the first? Or I need to have this answer, right away, and it's urgent. By all means, please feel free to do that. Any questions that maybe I haven't hit on, or no? Okay, that's good. Yes?
You talked about the acceptance letter if a child wants to go to a different high school.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a possibility that the child's not accepted. Will they continue the path on to mail?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, so
yes.
it does not interfere.
That's exactly right, and that is a very good question.
Okay.
You will always have your spot at Male High School. Okay? If you apply to a different high school, you still have your spot at Male. Once you accept your position at another high school and you've signed the exit form from the traditional program, then you no longer have your spot. Okay? Once you sign that saying that you're leaving the traditional program, you no longer have your spot. Mr. Wortham, would you like to touch on that? Okay.
Clarify that.
Yes. Go right ahead.
So if you apply for any of the option or magnet programs, so the big one here is manual. If manual offers you a spot, the district gives you, and the dates change every year, but they give you a 2-week window to make a decision. And if you take that spot in that 2 weeks, then you're going to manual. And if you change your mind the third week, tough luck. Then
Once
you're
you
not getting
accept
back
it.
in the traditional program. If you change your mind, then you go back to your home school. If you don't submit, if you don't reply back to manual or whatever school within that 2 weeks, then you're out of luck with them.
Mm-hmm.
And you're staying on the Male High School track. You can't get offered a spot to manual or Ballard, whatever it might be, and make a decision in July or the week before school starts.
Yeah.
You can't do that. The district gives you a 2-week window. Now, if you come summertime and you're on the track to go to Male and you decide we don't want to go to Male, can you still opt out of the traditional program and go to your home school? Yes. So if Ballard or Eastern, which those are typically the 2 schools we deal with out here, but maybe even Wagner, if those are your home schools and you want to pull out at the last minute and go to your home school, you can. Okay, but if you apply for an option or a magnet program, you'll be given basically a 2-week window to make a decision. That's it.
Are the children given different programs that are offered at the different high schools?
Yes.
Maybe they have some interest in one subject, maybe computer science as opposed to arts.
Yes. During all 3 of their years here, we hit on the different schools and the programs, the career readiness through JCPS schools. The counselors go into the classrooms, and during one of our classroom guidance lessons, that's one of the things we talk about. Definitely for 8th grade year, it's a little more in depth, and we do talk about all the different choices and what is offered at different schools with your child. Now, you can also go online and find all that for yourself, but we do bring it up with your children. They might be interested in healthcare, and so Moore High School has a terrific healthcare program. They might be interested in automotive work, and Southern has a whole program there for body work and building motors, mechanics, stuff like that. Shawnee has the aviation program. So there's lots of different avenues, and so most of the kids are like, oh my gosh, I had no idea. So then that's when their wheels kind of start turning. But then we always tell the children too, Mel is college prep, and if you have loved and succeeded in the traditional program, then Mel is the right track for you. You're going to get everything that you need there to go on to college to pursue those careers as well. But, like Mr. Williams said, they may decide in July that they don't want to be in the traditional program any longer, and they may want to go to the reside school. So, and some of those schools would be, some of the children's resides, but yeah, that offer those different programs. Yeah, it's a good question. Anybody else? Yes.
I don't know if you went over this already, but would there be some reference about what colleges kind of favor some of the high schools around you?
There will be like a general conversation that I'll have during classroom guidance lessons with the kids. We're always, telling them, what you do now really does affect what you do later. So in middle school, I'm often telling them, you need to finish strong, keep your grades up, get involved in as much as you can, because high schools are going to be looking at that on your application, just like colleges will be for your high school track. And, you've got to keep your grades up if you're planning on going to engineering school when you're in college. And just different things like that. And their high school counselors will, hold on a second. Their high school counselors will do a great job at preparing them for college as well, and also explaining to them what different colleges are looking for on their application process, because they have so much more, I guess, just up-to-date information, that they can give them. But yeah, we definitely talk to them about furthering their education beyond high school.
I would add to that, that the universities are going to gravitate to the high-performing schools more than they will to some of the lower-performing schools. But that doesn't mean that a child in a lower-performing school doesn't get a lot of attention. In middle school, the most important things the kids take away from are habits, good study habits and work ethic and so on. The three main things for your child, for you to focus on with your child when you get to high school, probably in this order, are their ACT score, their GPA, and community service and leadership. Yes. Those are the three main things that universities look for acceptance and then for scholarship. That's the main thing.
Especially that ACT score is really connected to scholarship money.
The high schools will definitely have those conversations a lot more in depth than a middle school would. Probably like starting their junior year, but just one thing, there are tricks to being successful at playing school. Okay, and people don't think about that, but you need to understand when most kids apply for and are accepted into college the end of their junior year, the beginning of their senior year. And so really the GPA that matters is the GPA they have at the end of their junior year. It's not the GPA when they graduate. They're already got their dorm assignment by then. So it's really important. There's too many kids that kind of blow off their freshman and sophomore year when those are the easiest years of high school to really pump up your GPA. So you've got to kind of put the pedal down on those first couple years with your kids and make sure that they come through, during those years and take advantage of that to beef up their GPA. Also, it's too late to start doing community service their junior year. That's like probably half of any scholarship application is what have you done for leadership and community service, and they have to list it. And if they don't start till the junior year, they don't have anything. So you got to really, as a parent, kind of egg them on, start pushing right away.
And to piggyback on that, what Mr. Wortham just said, that's where the ILP comes in as just a wonderful tool for our students to use, because they're probably going to forget their junior year what they did their freshman year. But if they go ahead and list all that information on there as far as their community service, how many hours, all of that is saved. So it makes it so much easier for them when they are applying for college just to go to their Infinite Campus ILP and pull that up, and they're like, oh yeah, well I forgot that I did that, I went on that camp and I was a camp counselor that summer. Just things like that. And so it really is a strong resume by their senior year if they keep up with putting that information into their ILP.
I would also say it's not enough to just do community service. You have to do community service in a leadership capacity. So you have to initiate things, or like if you're going to play on a team, you need to be able to say you're the team captain. You were the basketball captain or the softball captain or whatever. You were the leader of FCA or the leader of the ping pong club or whatever it is. That's the stuff they're looking for scholarships.
Yeah. That's an important, team
actually
manager.
sounds pretty good.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yes, it does. So, all of those are things that you all can kind of, just
Well,
keep
just
in the back of your cap for
our
when that time comes.
everyday occupations as parents. We have to show. I'm in the healthcare industry. What have you done in your community? If I want to advance to a different level, even
Right.
As a parent,
Wow.
and what we do in occupation. So those are things that we can share. And I always talk to my son about, hey, I've got to prove that I can move into this position because I've done this for our community. And they document hours, and
That's
I
awesome.
explain that to him, and he goes, you get 8 hours of free time? I said, no, it's not free time.
Free time, yeah. I'm
free
giving
time.
back.
Yeah,
Right. Yes.
right.
Yes.
So.
That's awesome. All right. Any other questions before we wrap it up? Well, thank you all for coming out on such a rainy, gloomy day. Make sure you grab some more coffee before you go. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. I hope that I've been able to kind of
Yes.
settle your minds about some things that are upcoming. So
Thank you very much.
you're welcome. Thank you all for being here.